Welcome in on this Thursday lunchtime live as we get to the down stretch of the week. Down the stretch they come. Preakness is next week, and maybe I'm a little excited. Maybe I'm still pissed off because I didn't clean house because I couldn't read my own sober writing in the Kentucky Derby. Maybe that's it. But either way, we're on the down stretch of your week, almost at the weekend. Playoff action. Got baseball action. Got a little WWE wrestling. We've got the Truist Championship ahead of the next major on the PGA Tour, the PGA Championship. Man, what a time to freaking be alive right now. We're going to talk about some stuff we saw last night in action in the postseason from the hardwood and from the ice. Also, get you set for what's going on tonight. Got some Headlinefire. Of course, it is Thursday. That means I am not by myself, which is always good for everybody else. Tejota, ¿cómo estás, my friend?
¿Qué pasó? It is a wonderful day in the neighborhood. Everybody is pretty happy about the Ducks and Knights being tied at 1.
Yeah, good game last night from Vegas, and I don't think any of us were surprised by that. I don't think anybody watching that series very surprised by it. I think very much so. A lot of us expecting that series to push the distance. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the Flyers and can they come back from an 0-2 hole. We'll talk about how I think we are minutes away from Seth Lugo not making it to the third freaking inning today. I'm starting to get extremely discouraged that we can't put 3 of the right picks together in one damn day. The hell is wrong with us?
Dude, it is very frustrating. Very frustrating. But that's why we keep pushing, man. We got to keep pushing. We don't quit. There's no quit here.
If you missed it from last night's show, we posted it on our social channels this morning at Mike Arana Show, everywhere but Snapchat because we're not 12 and Snapchat sucks. Our crossing streams play for the day. Seth Lugo on the bump in the second. He's already thrown 43 pitches for the Royals so far. But he does have 2 outs in this inning, a hell of a lot quicker than he got 2 outs in the first inning. So maybe that's a sign of positive stuff there. So we need Lugo, for you math geniuses out there, to pitch 6 complete innings tonight. That's it. 6 today. He is on the mound right now. They're down 3-0 to the Guardians. TJ's got Logan Spankhoven for a goal tonight for the Hurricanes, and I went with Tobias Harris for his Mr. Reliable 20 points tonight. So we thought Seth would be the hard mark in this one for us. He's been pitching really well, 17.5 outs. Normally, those pitcher out bets, we see most of them come in around 16.5. Mm-hmm. I was a little gun shy when I saw it with 17.5, but that's what Mac believed in his heart, so that's what we went with. So go, Seth Lugo.
Just get some outs, brother. Just get some outs, brother.
I think we need a couple of single-digit pitch innings here, or otherwise he's going to be pushing it. But we'll see what happens in that one. Cubs in action today. They are in the top of the second inning against the Reds. Yankees up 5-2 on Texas. I saw a stat, T, and it's going to lead me to my first question. Anyways, that's what we call a segue in this business. Chicago seeking their 4th straight walk-off win versus the Reds today. 6 of Chicago's 15 runs in the series have been scored in the 9th inning or later. They're seeking their 9th win overall. They won 10 straight from April 14th to the 24th already this year. They're also seeking their 15th straight win at Wrigley Field, would be the Cubs' longest home winning streak since 1935, where they hit 18. So, Mac, and for those that missed it, you'll see this on the social channels later today. We got into a pretty good debate last night about the most enjoyable division in baseball. And, of course, Mac had to take it 10 steps farther than that and call it the Central in the National League, without a shadow of a doubt, the best division in baseball. I don't know if that's where I'm at with it. I don't think that's where you're at with it. But I ask you to pick your central fighters. T. MLB teams that you're backing in both the American League Central and the National League Central. The American League Central separated by about 2 games right now, top to bottom. The National League Central separated by 5. Pick your fighters into the 2 Centrals. What team are you backing right now early in the season that you've seen that you believe is most accurately depicting themselves as they will be in September?
Both of these Central divisions are kind of a gong show because, like, we saw what the Brewers did last year, and it was very impressive. But everybody keeps picking the Cubs because they're the Cubs, and we expect the Cubs to do something with all of this talent. I picked PCA to be my MVP this year, and he had an awesome day the other night. I'm going with the Cubs just because I think they're done cubbing. I think this is the team that's going to put them over the top. I didn't like the subtractions that the Brewers made. You and me both love Bryce Terang. We think he's fantastic. But I think the Cubs have the talent this year to win 95 games, and they're showing it right now. In the AL Central, my fighter is the Royals. I still believe in the Royals. I think they got off to a slow start. I think that might be the best thing to happen to this team because it's going to bring them together. They've been through adversity. They're only a couple of games out. That thing's a dog's breakfast. So it's I still think it's Kansas City's division to lose.
Yeah, and Kansas City goes from this series today that they're finishing up with Cleveland into a series this weekend at home where they'll take on the Tigers. Keider Montero and my guy Chris Bubich on Friday night. On Saturday, we've got a matchup of Mac's favorite pitcher for Detroit, Tubada, against Michael Wacha. And on Sunday Night Baseball, we've got Detroit with another Tubada versus Noah Cameron. Obviously, Detroit shuffling their rotation now with the news of Tarek Skubal being out for the... This would concern the hell out of me. I know it's part of baseball, like, nomenclature now, but, like, hey, we're going to have to take you in for surgery. You've got some loose bodies floating around in your elbow. Like, the term of that is a little creepy to me, but I'm going to go with Pittsburgh. I'm going to stay on the ship that I backed at the beginning of the year. Pirates have scuffled a little bit, but good news for the Pirates. They're playing the Giants this weekend, so it'll be a good weekend for the Pirates to get right. You're smiling there. What do you have to say for yourself?
Well, I see what you did there. You're staying on the ship with the Pirates. I like that. That was very, very clever.
That means you're on your game. I tried to slip that one by you there, but I'm going to stick with the Pirates and I'm going to stick with the Royals, the 2 teams that I backed going into the year that I had high hope for. I didn't say the Pirates are going to win the division, but I think the Pirates are going to make a run for that last wild card spot. And it gets lost in a 162 game season, T. But I'm not considering San Francisco in this mix by any stretch of the imagination. But hey, a squirrel can find a nut every now and then. The Giants would be one of those teams that, if they were able to figure out how to teach Rafael Devers how to hit a fastball and by some miracle get some pitching towards the end of the year, these are big series for a Pirates team that's trying to prove that they are worth what we think they are, because these are the teams in San Francisco and teams like that at the end of September, you're likely competing for that final wild card spot. So these are important series. For Kansas City, as you mentioned, they struggled out of the gates, but that could have been the best thing that happened to them. Everything's kind of going right now for the Royals, so big series with them against Detroit this weekend as well. What do you got for me?
Do you think so? Carolina and Philadelphia go tonight, and my guy Logan Stankoven, who's just been an absolute machine in the playoffs, which is awesome. But is their style of play, is this sustainable to get 16 wins? Because this team plays nasty, dirty, not dirty like outside the rules, but just like gritty. You know what you're gonna get. But I'm wondering if they get into a long series, if this type of play is not going to be sustainable for, say, 24 total playoff games.
It's a good question. I mean, yeah, they do play. They play that physical push it right to the edge kind of style, which, over a long playoff haul is dangerous. unfortunately, I don't think they're going to get any of that push from the Flyers. I think we're seeing already in the first two games, this is a young Flyers team that's, in the dance for the first time, won their first series in a long time. I don't know if they're going to get pushed very far in the series. Now, I think in the next round, when you're looking at a potential matchup of Montreal or Buffalo, I think you're absolutely going to be up against where that style of play question comes in. I don't think they're going to get it until they get after this round, and that's a good thing for them because of the way they play, and that extra rest time for them could be just what this team needs. I'm very interested to see how tonight goes with the crowd back in Philly. You know they're going to be rocking. They've got the Sixers coming back home in an 0-2 hole, so a little bit of desperation from that building in general this week as both of their teams are in 0-2 holes. I don't know if it's sustainable, but I don't know if their path to a Stanley Cup final is very challenging until after this round.
Well, I think with Tampa Bay going out, I think that eliminates a huge obstacle for them. But don't sell Montreal short, because that team is fast and they can play and they can get physical with you too. So I think, but you're right. I mean, depending on what happens with Philadelphia tonight, I mean, this could be another waste of 8 days series if it keeps going the way that it's going. So I would like to see Philadelphia with some pushback tonight. But we've seen in the past, man, Carolina will get to the conference final, and it seems like they just run out of gas.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to see if they can have two short series. I do agree with you. I think that benefits them tremendously for a run to the Cup final.
Yeah, and for Philadelphia, I mean, Darth Vladar has been everything we've expected him to be. He's fifth right now in the playoffs in save percentage. He's fourth in goals against at 189. The problem is he's up against Freddie Anderson, who Mac pointed out last night. He's at a .02 in goals against, and he's got a 958 save percentage. So Can Philadelphia figure out how to get by him? I'm sure we're going to circle back to this game with the current status of Seth Lugo. Just have something else in the water for this evening. So we'll get back to that one here in just a little bit. The Giants, the New York Football Giants, they added DJ Reader to their defense yesterday. The Seahawks added Dante Fowler Jr. Which move is more impressive to you? Which one do you think makes the bigger impact on their new teams? Reader to the Giants or Dante Fowler to the Seahawks?
Man, those are two great additions. But I like the Seahawks adding Dante Fowler. That defense was so good already, and it's only going to get better now. But what it does is a move like this is going to take pressure off of the offense, take pressure off of Sam Darnold. He's not going to have to be perfect. Like he has, when you have a great defense, and we've seen it in the past, we saw it with the Ravens, we saw it with the Buccaneers. When you have a fantastic defense that is just no holes in it, you can't score against it very much. That just makes the offense more relaxed, and they can do more things. They don't have to be heroes. They just go out there and do their job. And with the pieces that the Seahawks offense lost, it's going to be maybe a little more difficult for them to mesh together. But this defense, if they're stout as I think they're going to be, man, that's once again, the NL West is going to come down to, two teams. Did I say the NL West?
You
I think
did.
I just
threw me off
West.
for a second there. I know what you meant, the NFC West.
Holy smokes.
It's definitely not the NL West right now, because that division can't find their ass from a hole in the ground as a collective unit right now. But we'll get into that here in just a little bit. Fire away.
So I was listening to a hockey show the other day, and they were talking about the draft lottery and who deserved to win the draft lottery. And the Seattle Kraken was mentioned. And we're going into I believe this is the 6th season of the Kraken. The comment was made that the Kraken are a combination of the Sacramento Kings and the Charlotte Hornets. And that got my attention, because I think that's an accurate interpretation of this team. What do you think?
I think it's hard this early in their tenure to put the Sacramento label on them, as Michael Conforto has left Wrigley Field to give the Cubs a lead in that one. The Sacramento label in 6 years is a little tough for me to gauge to them. The Hornets label, I think, is pretty accurate. And we talked about this, and we know and we're going to talk about this team here in a second, but we know the situation in Toronto is not a good thing right now. And we've talked about this a lot, especially with the Kraken. The Kraken need an anchor point to their franchise. That's the one thing that they haven't had. They've got some good players up there. They've had players that have had career years in their time in Seattle, but they don't have that go-to. Every team that is sustainable in the West has those 1, 2, 3 kind of go-to guys, but it's all headlined by a premier player. Seattle doesn't have that. And if you want to talk about a perfect freaking destination for Austin Matthews, if I'm the Kraken and there's a Matthews to get there, I'm going to make a serious run at kicking the tires on that, because that could be the thing that kind of pushes that franchise forward in a direction, because now you have an anchor point, you have a centering point to build your franchise around. And I think that's the biggest thing that I could take away from the Kraken in their short existence here, is they don't have that go-to guy yet. And when you're looking at the makeup of the Pacific and the West as a whole right now, especially in the Pacific Division, when you look at it, like, you've got the Sharks coming up, another high draft pick for them. We've seen what the Ducks are doing right now. We assume Utah is going to get better. What's going to happen in Edmonton? The Kings, I think, we're a couple of years away from relevancy again for the Kings, because they've got all kinds of issues there. Seattle has to create some space in the hierarchy for themselves, and it starts with like a go-to player. And you might as well swing for the moon, especially if there's a chance you can get Austin Matthews out of Toronto. I think that'd be a hell of a landing spot for him.
Well, and this team is not getting younger, and they're going to age out pretty quickly in this incarnation. So, I mean, you got players like Eberle's going to be entering his age 36 season. You got Vince Dunn. He's not a spring chicken. So this team needs to get younger for sure. Austin Matthews doesn't necessarily get them younger, but I agree with you that if you're a team like Seattle and you have the assets, can you imagine teaming him up with Matty Beniers? I think that'd be an awesome move. And then you have a 1-2 there that you can build around, and you can and attract other players. Like, who wouldn't want to play in Seattle? Like, if you're playing with Austin Matthews and Matty Beniers, I mean, and Joey Decord is proven to be a good goaltender. So, you got that position pretty much solid. That would be unreal to play with Austin Matthews and Beniers.
Yeah, absolutely. If you got a comment or a question, feel free to fire it away. We'll get to as many of them as we can. If you're watching along, we appreciate you taking through your lunch hour here. Not everything is roses for the Cubs, T, as we found out yesterday from a report from Jesse Rogers from ESPN. Matthew Boyd, he is going to be out for an undetermined amount of time. The club does expect him back this season, but he injured his left meniscus while playing with his kids at home, and it requires surgery. So it made me think, the weirdest injuries that we've seen in sports, and we're not talking about, holy shit, how did this happen in a game? We're talking about, he did what, and he's out for how long? What are some of the weirder ones you can remember in sports, along with Boyd injuring his meniscus and requiring surgery playing with his kids?
Well, I think I seem to remember something like Sammy Sosa injured himself sneezing, like he hurt his back or something. Like, what are you doing? There was the one that I think of the most is Jeff Kent allegedly washing his truck and falling 6 feet from washing his truck and breaking his wrist. That was comical. Let's see. Another one was, I always go back to Jack Hughes. Jack Hughes seems to have these crazy injuries, and he suffered one at a team dinner this year with a steak knife. Like, what are we doing here? I know these are athletes and they're highly paid players, but holy smokes, they seem like just like some other dude. Oh, I know one that I saw last night. Lionel Simmons, a long time ago, back in the day. This will date you. Got tendonitis when he was with the Kings from playing his Game Boy too much. Like who does this, right? Like, who does this? Those are the ones that stand out to me. What do you got?
You sent that one to me last night, and I'm like, oh my God, how have I never heard this story before? It's funny because of the situation with Boyd. And obviously it's not funny, but he's coming back. He'll be back this year. It's unfortunate for the Cubs, who are playing great baseball right now, but he's not the first athlete to be doing something with his kids at home and injuring himself. Roger Federer in 2016 was running a bath for his twin daughters, like any good father, and he turned around and heard a click in his left knee. He had a torn meniscus, had to undergo surgery there. One of my favorite ones, because it was hilarious, comes from the wrestling world, ironically. Vince McMahon running down to settle a botched final in the 2005 Royal Rumble, and he ends up going to dive into the ring, and he tears both of his quads as he's jumping into the ring. He goes to try and stand up. He can't. Then his son did it about a decade later in WrestleMania, and Snoop Dogg had to save the day. There was the Dusty May one, and this was recently. And obviously it turned into a really kind of scary situation, but a piece of lettuce became stuck in his throat a couple years ago in spring training. He had to have surgery for a torn esophagus from eating a salad. See, eating healthy is not always good for you, folks, as it almost cost Dustin May his throat. But yeah, I was like, dude, everything's coming up roses right now for the Cubs. And we talked about it, and they've already missed Boyd for some time this year. Like, right now, that's about the only thing that's shown it can slow the Cubs down is random injuries while playing with your children at home. So
I wonder what exactly he was doing. Like, was he like doing?
Yeah, I don't think we're going to get to hear that. I don't think we're going to get to hear that part of the story.
That's going to be one of those crimes better left unsolved, I'm thinking.
You're going to need Keith Morrison and Dateline special for that one. Yeah, it was just an innocent off day at home until it wasn't.
Hey, you know what for me? You know what happened 10 years ago today, right?
Down Bartolo,
a little bit south of me. Yes, yes. And man, that guy is such a beautician, and a lot of people forget. Like with the like everybody looks at him and like, oh, they make fun of him because he got kind of he was enjoying himself a little bit. I'll just say that. But holy smokes, that guy could throw the baseball. He won a Cy Young with the Angels in 2005, I believe. So I saw that pop up on my timeline today, and I watched it multiple times and laughed every single time because he just takes the slow boat around the bases. Then the dugout clears out. Nobody's in the dugout to meet him, and he's just like doing his business. So I didn't know if that came up on your timeline today, but I saw that. It made me laugh for a little bit.
Yeah, it did. And that was top speed for Bartolo going around the bases there. So don't hate the player, hate the game. We lost two legends this week. Obviously, the passing of John Sterling, and then yesterday we lost Ted Turner. And I it's kind of interesting. We've talked about everything with baseball and some of the frustration at not being able to watch games because of the blackouts. Carson Bowen, CarsBo910 on X today. Ted Turner spent 20 years making sure a kid in Montana could watch the Braves. MLB spent 20 years making sure a kid in Atlanta couldn't. Does that not sum up Ted Turner's impact on growing the Braves and the South into the sports behemoth that we now know him as, and show you exactly what's wrong still with Major League Baseball all in one tweet?
Oh, 100%. I mean, when I would get home from school, you knew that you could watch either the Cubs on WGN because they were all day games at the time, or you could watch the Braves because they were going to come on. If they weren't coming on right then, they were going to come on shortly afterwards. They seemed to always start at 4:40 local time, so you knew when it was like clockwork. But yeah, I mean, that just became, at the time it was channel 7 on my cable box, and I just turned it on. I knew it was going to be there. So yes, that is 100% accurate tweet, dead ass balls accurate.
Yeah, and that was like my after schools were, it was the Braves game and then the Giants game, and Mom would put me to bed, and I had pulled the mattress off the wall. The box spring was up against the wall. I had my pillows over the top of where I hid the radio in between the mattress and the wall, and I would listen to Hank Greenwald call the Giants games. And that was every day after school during baseball season for me. So yeah, we're going to transition into hockey here, and we ran out of time to get to this last night, but how would you describe the last 72 hours at Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment right now? It's been kind of interesting.
I think you put it the best yesterday when you said, Chaika, you have 2 months to fix this team, and 4 hours later they win the draft lottery. Like, I think the way I would describe it is, are you bloody kidding me? Like, there was so much blowback on this hire. I don't know if you watched the presser, but it was one of the most awkward pressers I've ever seen. Like, Pelly is sitting up there taking bullets for hiring Chaika. Meanwhile, Matt Sundin, Leaf legend, is just sitting there, right? And then they turn around the next day and win the number one pick, almost 10 years to the day from the last time they won the number one pick. So it's kind of an interesting turn of events, to say the least.
Yeah, it's definitely been an interesting one there, and you know, even furthermore, if you dial it back and pull out the lens even farther, I mean, everybody out here in Arizona has their own feelings about Chaika, and you know, some of the stuff that's been coming out and everything else that we've seen, and I love that Biz has gone out and taken the stance that he has, because he knows what happened in that situation out here better than anything, when they just seemingly took an absolute dump on a living legend out here in Arizona and Shane Doan, and I love how he's backing him and you know, staying on his side of the story, because it was an absolute disaster here, and it was the start of a string of a lot of shitty things that happened to that Coyotes franchise.
Oh yeah, when the book is written about that franchise, that is going to be a huge chapter of it. And the ironic thing in this is, I don't know if Doan lost his gig when Tree Living lost his gig, but if he's still there, he's technically working for Chaika again, because he was the assistant GM. So I find that kind of funny there. But Doan's been linked to the Canucks as well, because he's interviewed for that job. I think that would be a fantastic fit for him. But yeah, I mean, you can only hope when making that hire that in 10 years that your candidate has learned something. And I know that there's things out there that say that, you know, he somehow has 50 Wendy's franchises or something. So I hope that something that he learned is more than how to make a chocolate vanilla frosty. But the analytics part of his, like, he was ahead of the curve with the analytics. I will give him credit for that. He signed Keller and Schmaltz and Dvorak and Chikrin to really team-friendly deals, like looking ahead. And that turned out to be a very good move. And then he totally cancels it out by what he does to Doan. And then he cancels it out by his exit from the franchise. He was still suspended by the league, so they had to clear that up. So he's got a lot to prove, in my opinion. But winning the number one draft pick makes your job as a GM a whole hell of a lot. Actually, I'm going to take that back. I think it makes your job harder, because with a team with as many holes as the Maple Leafs have, that number one pick has a tremendous amount of value.
Yeah, it absolutely does. And you know, obviously the cute rumor that was kind of started from the Spit and Chicklets guys the other night with the follow tracker of Austin Matthews following Macklin Celebrini is, what if Toronto and San Jose pulled this huge trade and Toronto ended up with both the 1 and 2 picks, man? That would be pretty interesting to see. You know, it's funny you brought up, because we were just talking about the Coyotes, and you brought up you know, anniversary dates and this, that, and the other thing for Bartolo Colon's homer, which is actually now playing on my feed here, which is hilarious because it's going to take him 10 minutes to round the bases. But if I remember correctly, this is, 14 years to the day when the Coyotes advanced to their first, and I believe it was their only, if I remember correctly, Western Conference Finals, beating the Nashville Predators.
Yes, I was in the building sitting behind the north goal. So I was behind that goal. So I was on the side where the Coyotes scored both their goals.
Yeah, it was
an incredible night.
It was quite the scene, and it was cool to see some of those come up too, and see how full the building was for all the people that said, well, the Coyotes could never get anybody there. No, they just didn't have a team good enough to drive everybody out to the yard, and that was one of those years that they did. Let's talk about what happened on the ice last night as Buffalo takes a 1-0 lead in their series, knocking off the Canadiens 4-2. Bo Byram and Ryan McLeod scored on consecutive power play opportunities for Buffalo's power play unit that has basically been non-existent so far in the postseason. Bo Byram is having one hell of a playoffs right now. Sabres get the big win on home ice to start that series out 4-2. What'd you think last night of the Sabres and their game one victory? Because they looked kind of like at that high point what we could expect to see out of Buffalo playing their best hockey last night.
They looked really good last night. I love that Doan got the first goal. That was pretty cool. That defense, though, is so good. And we talked at the beginning of the season. I made a point and said, I hope Bo Byram is renting and not buying in Buffalo. Dude, I hope he's buying now. And that team's he's gonna be a UFA after next season because he signed a 2-year extension. That team needs to get paid. He is going to get paid. And if Buffalo doesn't pay him, somebody is. Samuelson has been outstanding. Dahlin's been fantastic. Power's been great. Like, that whole defense has been awesome. And it's great to see Buffalo get the first one there. I think it's going to be a long one, though. I think this one's going to go 7. It's going to go back and forth. But, yeah, great to see Buffalo get the first one.
Byram's goal was his 4th, which matches the Sabres franchise playoff record for D-men, joining Mike Ramsey, Jason Woolley, and Alexei Zhitnik, who both scored 4, or all of them scored 4 in 1999, or Woolley and Zhitnik 4 in 1999. Ramsey obviously wasn't 1999, that was 1988. But yeah, he's played fantastic. And, you know, it was kind of interesting to see Montreal down by a multiple goal margin, which is something we haven't seen from them. I think the Canadiens played a solid game. They just got beat last night. But I think the other thing that people are forgetting about this, because we're talking about a really good Montreal team and a really good Buffalo team, is this is 109-point Buffalo and 106-point Montreal. Like, the Canadiens are not going away in this series, and it's going to be a test for a relatively inexperienced Sabres team.
I mean, and we make a big deal about the Central with the Colorado, Dallas, and Minnesota, but the Atlantic with Buffalo, Tampa, and Montreal was right there with them. This is going to be an absolute just brawl for 7 games.
Yeah, and you know, the series against Boston, they're holy shit, Bobby Witt just murdered a baseball. Their series against
more pitches for Lugo.
It was foul though. Good God, he crushed that thing. Their series against Boston, 1 of 24 on the power play was Buffalo. That's a 4.2% conversion rate, which was tied for 865th out of 897 teams that had 20 or more opportunities in a playoff series since 1978. So converting on 2 of the 3 power plays last night, a good sign for Buffalo. The other game last night, as we head over to the Western Conference, Ducks get a 3-1 victory over the Golden Knights last night. They looked a lot more like the Ducks that we were expecting to see. And again, this is a team that's continued all year to find a way, and they needed that one last night. They got it. I can't wait to see this series shift back to Anaheim because I think it's going to be rocking.
Yeah, the only thing with the Ducks is, I think we mentioned it last night in real time, is they had 6 minutes of power play time in that first period, including almost 2 minutes at 5-on-3, and couldn't get anything past Carter Hart. They went 0 for 5 on the power play. That's not going to cut it. They're going to have to find a way to make that thing work. I think they do, but you know, Vegas has a good penalty kill, so you kind of got like a situation where you've got an experienced penalty kill going against a team that plays a little loosey-goosey. And you could see on the power play, the Ducks got good shots. Like Gauthier had a couple, they lined him up 3 times in a row. And you just couldn't get it past Carter Hart. And in that case, you tip your hat to the goalie and go on your way. Yeah, when this series moves to game 3, it's going to be raucous. But I do want to shout out, Henry Samueli took his entire front office staff to the game yesterday. Huge, absolutely huge.
Yeah, we talk about it all the time. The owners that don't give a shit in sports, and then there's the ones that do. So yeah, I saw that last night. Very cool. Another concerning thing, if you're the Ducks, though, is they got their asses kicked in the faceoff circle yet again last night. 63% faceoff win percentage for Vegas. Beckett Seneca started the scoring in the second period. Jansen Harkins added an empty net goal to finish it for the Ducks. Mark Stone, it's amazing what happens when you actually can play a whole year because they change rules. He added a meaningless goal. late in the third period there. But Leo Carlson, his fourth goal of this postseason, and Troy Terry and Chris Kreider, man. Terry and Kreider assisted Carlson on that goal to start the third period. 6 assists for Troy Terry in the postseason. He's been fantastic. And Chris Kreider is still finding ways to contribute without putting the puck in the net. That was his 5th assist last night. So that series shifts back to Anaheim. It's going to be fun. Obviously, we kind of already hit it on it. The only game on the ice tonight, Carolina and Philadelphia from Wells Fargo Arena in Philadelphia. Spankhoven on the ice tonight. What do you expect to see? How do the Flyers get back in the series tonight?
I think the Flyers just have to play. They have to play a Carolina type game, and they have to out Carolina them. They're going to play physical. They're going to have to get some greasy goals. I'd like to see more. It's hard to say this because he kind of took the Flyers by storm in his first 10 games with them. But I like to see Porter Martone get in there and get into it a little bit. But this Flyers team needs to get physical. This is another series. I think I'm taking the under on this tonight again. I'm just going to keep playing the under with Carolina until they prove me otherwise. This is they got to win this game 3-2.
Yeah, absolutely. Last night in the NBA, we'll go to the Garden where the Knicks get a 108-102 victory in a fourth quarter that set basketball back about a decade, 19-12. The Knicks outscored the Sixers in the fourth last night. No Joel Embiid for Philadelphia. And yet again, the Knicks carried, as we mentioned this morning on our social channels, they're carried again by Jalen Brunson, 24 from OG Anunoby, 20 and 10 and 7 from Karl Anthony Towns. Josh Hart is typical offensive production, 5 points, only took 6 shots, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals, all over the place. He was a +5 last night. 18 from Mikal Bridges as well. So the guys who've gotten it done all year for the Knicks got it done. Tyrese Maxey had 27 or 26 to lead the Sixers. Paul George had 19. VJ Edgecombe had 17. Kelly Oubre Jr. also had 19 points last night. But some questionable shots taken by some veterans for the Sixers, mainly Paul George at the end of the game. I'm sure you've seen the one that threw me off while we were doing the show last night. Like a total rush shot, total panic shot. No need to jack up the 3. Didn't need the 3 in that scenario. Now Philadelphia is going to head back to the Wells Fargo Center, much like their co-tenants there in an 0-2 hole.
Yeah, good for OG Anunoby. This guy's won a title before. He knows what it's going to take. It's good to see him get more on the scoring sheet. 9 for 17 last night. That's what the Knicks need out of OG. They need him to play very well. Jalen Brunson, yeah, his back's going to hurt from carrying this team. You got a 20 and 10 from Cat, but yeah, Sixers. You mentioned it in the Celtics series. The Sixers team seems to just go with whatever is happening to Joel Embiid. If Joel Embiid's in and he's having a great game, they're probably going to win. If Joel Embiid's not playing, they're probably not going to win. And they've got to figure out a way to not win to win when Embiid is not on the court. They have to figure that out.
Yeah, so that series will shift back to Philadelphia. Now, the other game last night was basically over before it started. San Antonio 133, Minnesota 95. Minnesota only able to muster 35 points in the first half. They were down 59-35 going into the break and basically put it in the freezer from there. No Timberwolf last night scored more than 12 points. Still on a pinch count for Anthony Edwards. Came off the bench, had 12 points in 24 minutes. Ayo Dosunmu also back in action last night. He only played 10, had no points for the Wolves. I don't think any of us were surprised. I think that series has staying power to go the distance. Maybe it was just Minnesota has a little bit of that dog in them that I talked about last night, and they got their one win, and maybe that's all we see. I'm interested to see what happens in Game 3 because unlike their not co-tenants, but their town co-tenants, if you will, the Wild going back home down 0-2, the Timberwolves go back home with a split. Now I think is where the series really gets interesting here going forward.
Well, you guys called it last night. You expected the Spurs to just blow out the Timberwolves, and that's exactly what happened. So great for the Spurs for showing up like they did. At the beginning of the playoffs, or maybe it was a couple of weeks before the playoffs, Mac mentioned, and you might have seconded this as well, or maybe you mentioned it, he seconded, that this Spurs-Wolves rivalry in the Western Conference playoffs at whatever state that the playoffs are in would be a great thing to see. And I think you're starting to see a preview of what's to come, because these two teams are going to be banging it out with each other for a long time.
Yeah, and and we talked about it. We know that OKC and San Antonio don't like each other. Wemby and Chet don't like each other, and that's obviously already a good rivalry. And the critical offseason for the Nuggets here, I kind of think the Nuggets are going to have to get creative and try and be very aggressive this year to keep in there. And those four teams battling with each other, I think, is great for the overall health of the Western Conference. So they'll head back to Minnesota for game number 3 in that series on tomorrow night. On Friday night, that's the second game. Obviously, the first game is Knicks and Sixers. Those are both Prime Video games. Speaking of Prime Video, tonight, Cleveland and Detroit, they play game 2 after Detroit got the game 1 victory. Interested to see what happens there. Can they get a prime effort, the Cavaliers, out of what they're expecting to get out of James Harden, Donovan Mitchell, who have been kind of relatively inconsistent so far in the postseason?
Yeah, kind of mad. And then, Harden has that reputation that he's not a winner. And so the Cavaliers need to find a way to get back to Cleveland at 1-1. So it's a huge game for the Cavs. I'm expecting the Pistons to come out gangbusters tonight. I really am. I feel that Magic series, kind of like you said yesterday, woke them up. And I'm expecting them to just come out on all cylinders.
Yeah, in the other game tonight from the Paycom Center, the second game, which will overlap the first game, not quite as bad as the other night. They actually got smart with the times tonight. Might not have to overlap that much, but the Lakers come in 15.5-point underdogs to the Thunder. Do you give the Lakers any chance tonight to cover a 15.5-point spread?
3 chances, slim, none, and fat. I'm not confident in this team, especially if Kennard doesn't go. I'm not confident that they have the horses right now.
Yeah, no Jalen Williams again for the Thunder. No Luka Doncic, obviously, again for the Lakers. They'll get Austin Reeves back for his second game tonight. Let's see if that goes a little better than his first time on the floor. Jared Vanderbilt, also a game-time decision for the Lakers tonight. A Lakers team that can't afford to really miss out on anybody in their lineup, because at perfect strength, at full strength, if you will, they were going to have a hard enough time knocking off Oklahoma City to begin with. And that's the scary thing, too, is no Jalen Williams. But I think we'll see a little bit better effort from the Lakers tonight.
Yeah.
And the score was a little deceiving in game 1, the 108-90 score. The Lakers were in the game for longer than I think a lot of us expected them to be, especially in the first half here. But it's going to take a perfect game and an off shooting night. Now, can Marcus Smart continue to make it difficult on SGA, which would go a long way for the Lakers? And we talked about it. SGA kind of had a pedestrian 18-point game in game number 1, and they were still able to get the 18-point victory. So it's kind of interesting, because you're seeing what Jared McCann's been able to do for the Thunder, and you're watching the Sixers in their series against the Knicks, and you're going, man, how much are they missing Jared McCann right now in Philadelphia?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I want to go back to the Lakers for a second. I know that they've got to play a perfect series here to beat the Thunder. Do you think they have a chance at even getting one game out of this series, or is this going to be a Thunder? I joked about Thunder in 3, but do you think the Lakers have any? I just don't see how they can stay competitive with all the injuries, and it's not necessarily their fault, but if you don't have the horses, you don't have the horses.
I think the Lakers get one in the series. I think the loss of Jalen Williams and however long he's going to be out dealing with that hamstring injury, I think the Lakers get one. I think anything over than that, they're going to have some luck involved, and you usually do at this point in the playoffs if you're going to get anywhere. There's a game or two you win that you shouldn't win, but yeah, I could see the Lakers winning game 3 when the series returns to Los Angeles. But after that, I think you're swimming upstream there. So plenty of stuff there. Tomorrow on the program, Lunchtime Live, I'll be joined by 10 Tampa Bay sports director Evan Klosky. We're going to talk a little bit about the Lightning, and he had some interesting observations when the Lightning were ousted on Sunday by the Canadians about the state of the Lightning and not being able to get out of the first round right now, doing their best Minnesota Wild impression from years past. Also going to talk to him a little bit about the Rays, who are off to a fantastic start in the AL East. They're in action tonight, opening their series against Boston. We do have some day baseball going on right now. The Yankees pounding the Rangers 8-2. Washington up 5-4 in Minnesota. Cleveland's up 4-0 on Seth Lugo and the Royals. Lugo is 1 out away from getting us to 12, but we still need 2 more innings out of him. I don't think we're getting there. He just threw pitch number 100. Cubs and Reds early there, 1-0 Cubs in the fourth. Mets and Rockies just underway. Diamondbacks and Pirates getting going here in about 20 minutes from Arizona. Zach Gallen and Mitch Keller. That's an interesting way to get to Merrill Kelly there. Can Zach Gallen actually pitch a good game for the Diamondbacks? Something that we have not seen really much of from him so far this season. And another one of those, like we talked about this, T. You got the 17-18 Diamondbacks, the 20-17 Pirates. This is a gotta-have-it kind of game for the Pirates because this is one of those teams that will likely be in the mix with them for that final wild card spot.
Yeah, Skeens freaking was dealing last night. That was pretty epic to see on the replay. But on the other side, it's also a game that the Diamondbacks need to get at home. Like, you have to win these games as well. You're going to win 60, you're going to lose 60. It's the 40 in the middle that are going to decide your season. And this is one of those 40 in the middle that they need to get.
Friday and Sunday, you've got hockey right down the street from you. Are you going to be in the pond for either one of those 2 games?
That's going to be a little rich. I think we've got our eyes set on if there's a game 6. I think that's what we're going to hold out for.
I think you're pretty much guaranteed to get to 6 unless something catastrophic happens in the series. Tickets as low as $199 for tomorrow night. So Lunchtime Live tomorrow, same time. Again, 10 Tampa Bay Sports Director Evan Klosky will join me at high noon Pacific time to talk about the Rays and the Lightning. You're gonna want to hear that because the state of the Lightning, and a lot of us thought that we were staring at a Lightning Avalanche final, and the Lightning failed to get out of the first round again. Some interesting comments from John Cooper, from Andre Vasilevsky, so plenty of stuff to keep an eye on there. Other than that, we'll be back after tomorrow's show. We'll be back for a full slate of shows next week as we get a little bit closer to the summer schedule. Any final words from you on this fine Thursday?
I was looking forward to watching you, Max Boy Spankoven tonight. Just once again, been a machine in the playoffs. So some good hockey coming up this weekend. So hope everybody gets to watch.
First thing I'm going to do tonight is reset the bet because I don't think Lugo's going to get us to 18 out. So I'm going to go Spankoven for a goal and Tobias Harris for 20 points. For DJ, for everybody behind the scenes, for Vegas Mac and Mike, talk with you tomorrow with 10 Tampa Bay Sports Director Evan Klosky. Until then, you know what to do and you know the drill.